Tally-ho! Wings of silver, birds of steel. SilverHawks, partly metal.
What's up, you beautiful collectors and action figure fans? Once again, it's the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Super7 SilverHawks Ultimates Evil Windhammer. The second villain in this series, the first one being the unarmored version of Monstar. Windhammer here represents the first figure in his evil mob, and is honestly really fun looking. As always, starting off first, showing the mailer package here. You got the nice SilverHawks logo with his name there, Super7. Nothing else really going around. You got warnings and things like that. But I do love that they actually still utilize this whole mailer box sort of thing. I talked about it before, how when they took over for Matty Collector with the Masters of the Universe line, it was cool to see that consistency kind of going through. And they've continued it on with a lot of their Ultimates figures, which is very cool. And of course, you do have this nice plastic here, which protects the internal box, which is also really nice. I mean, a lot. I'm really curious if you guys are collecting these. Leave me a comment. Are you keeping these boxes? I'm not. Just as great looking as they are, I just don't have the space for packages anymore. That's really kind of unfortunate, but this is gorgeous. Much like that Monstar box, you have this very nice metallic red going around with Monstar's head there kind of as a logo. The side here kind of wraps around and continues on with that. When you come around to the back, though, you got this really nice embossed SilverHawks logo, which looks amazing. You lift this up, and we're going to do a full reveal because I love doing it, but you have Windhammer right there, kind of looking like Merman, honestly, but that is really cool looking. I love that they keep the whole red aspect going with the little embers flying around. In case you'd like to read it, to get the bio on them, go ahead and pause it right there and get all the information that you might need to know about the Storm Master. And then coming around, we're going to take a look at them first together, and ooh, that guy's gorgeous. You see, he's got a lot of hands, and that is really cool. He actually has a soft goods robe on there, which is really nice. Very big. This guy is heavy, so very solid feeling. He comes with, I think, another head in there, his tuning fork weapon, and then a whole bunch of these little weather effects, which is super, super cool. I love the way that that guy looks. Probably not my favorite villain. That's coming out later on, which, again, I'm also really excited about. But Windhammer is a cool-looking character. But for the packaging on him, that's about it. So, without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. And here we have Windhammer opened up and out of his packaging. And again, that Ultimates tag that Super7 uses for their figures really is nicely represented here with this release. Starting off first, as you can see, he comes with a ton of hands. In addition to two fairly relaxed ones that are currently on him, you can see he has a right and left pointing hand with that real cool nail right on there. That's overly dramatic, but you know, accurate. You also do get a pair of fisted hands so he can punch SilverHawks if he wants to. You also do get a right and left hand with a weapon holding grip, but it is different than the one that we have here. You can see this one is a little bit, I mean, it's a little bit tighter of a grip. I imagine. I don't really see too much of a difference really between them. I mean, it's a subtle difference, but it looks like the thumb is pulled up a little bit closer than that one there obviously is. So you do have those, and those all work really nicely with his tuning fork accessory, which you can see you can slide that in there like that. Not use the same hand, and you can wedge that one in there. So you can have him holding his tuning fork weapon. You can position this however you really want, but it was always interesting to me that a tuning fork is what he used as a weapon to summon weather effects, which is crazy because in the vacuum of space, that's not something that's real. But this is I mean, it's thick, it's solid. I mean, I would imagine it's hollow, but it does feel good in the hand. But you can see it's just molded in this gray plastic, but works beautifully, especially with these effects right here. Now you have this one, which it's kind of like a swooshing sort of one. You literally just take this and you got holes in here, and you plug it in just like that, and now you swoosh, 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 which is cool. I mean, I don't necessarily know what kind of effect this is, other than maybe like a lightning kind of thing, but I love how it pegs in there. But you do have this, which is more of a lightning one, and this is absolutely gorgeous. Again, a very nice translucent plastic, much like this one is here with a tint of yellow, but you got these little holes here that you just plug that in there, and you can see that it goes down around the bottom section of the fork and then extends out, which is, again, very cool. I love how that really resonates from the actual device, and they do a real good job in terms of replicating that by having the pull section go down a little bit further. So that's nice, and not just on the tip, and it's on there, sturdy. All of these are. You are not going to shake these off, as far as I can tell. I mean, that is going to be on there permanently once you put it on. Well, not permanently, but then I love this one because it's like ice shards, and you can see a slight bluish color to it, which is really nice. And then you got a silverish clear element in there. Again, you just plug that in there. Where's the little hole? There you go. Come on, get that in there. And now it's like he's going. So much like the lightning exploding from the tips of the tuning fork, these little ice shards do that as well. And again, I like how they actually, and it doesn't really matter which way you put them in, it all works exactly the same. But I love the fact that it goes down a little bit further, so it kind of covers this up as if the fork itself is what is emanating, or making these pieces emanate from it. And obviously it is, but doing that like that, I think is really cool. And I love that that effect goes a little bit further down. That is really nice. And a lot of real great detail on here. You can see sculpt-wise, it looks like chunks of ice flying through there. And it's a simple effect. All of these are very simple, but they are very much in line with the character. And I think that that is a great sort of way to kind of honor him. Now, as for the figure himself, he does come with two portraits. You have this one here with his mouth a little bit more open, coming in to take a closer look at it. Great detail on there in terms of recreating how he looked. Same with the original portrait that you can see, but much more aggressive looking on here. This is him just kind of standing there, definitely looking like an alien version of Merman. And this one, with his open mouth and his hair flowing, really kind of shows that wind aspect of him. And when he would summon the elements, it would kind of make his hair flow around, and you can see gorgeous Fabio style hair. I mean, that is gorgeous. Great line work on there, great coloring. You can see there are a couple different shades that are going through, which works very nicely, and again, accurate for the character. All done in a really cool style. Now, the only kind of downfall to this would be, because the hair is hard, it really does, especially on this one, kind of limit the poses that you can do with his neck. Not a ton, but it does limit it. And then swapping it out is as easy as pulling this off. You got a little peg right there, and then taking that, putting that on just like that. And now it's on there pretty decently, and then you get a little bit more range of motion with it just because of the nature of the hair not kind of being draped down. But again, you can see still gorgeous detail throughout the entire head sculpt there. The other part that I really love on this guy is the use of an actual cloth, I don't want to say robe, but like tunic? I don't know, but all the way around it looks very, very good. You can see the edges have this nice tattering effect. You got a couple little rips and everything down here. This is actually, what is this? This is harder, so, oh, that's like Velcro, I think. So if you wanted to remove it, you could, I guess. So that's Velcro down there, but the rest of it is a really nice soft material. I'm kind of trying to futz with this to kind of pull. Oh, there's a seam right there. That's why. Okay. But all the way around looks really very good. The belt has a good color on it. The actual tunic has a good color on it. You do have to futz with it a little bit to kind of get it to drape, because you don't want it to look too silly. But overall, really stellar looking. And amazing attention to detail on this entire thing. All the way around, got this really cool green color, which is very simple, but you can see that it does have a little bit of shading throughout some of it, and it really captures the shadow element very nicely, which gives a very cool look to them. But all the way around, really very impressive. You got massive toes, which, again, character design-wise, his lower section of his body was much bigger than the upper section. You can see that really with his thighs compared to his calves. I mean, he's an alien. Give him a little bit of a break. But just really a very cool and fun looking character. And beefy, too. I mean, he's a good size. Bringing in Bluegrass, who we already took a look at, you can really see that, I mean, obviously, Bluegrass is, a good size by comparison to him, but there's a lot more bulk to this guy, which, again, just fits the overall character model for him. And then, of course, bringing in his boss, Monstar, you can really, again, see a good size comparison here. Bad guys always seem to be bigger than the good guys. Maybe it's meant to make them look more evil and intimidating. But whatever the reason for the character design, Super 7 matched it by recreating the scale here just about flawlessly. For the articulation on him, as I mentioned, the head does get a little bit of a limit going with it because of the hair, and that's understandable. I totally get why that is the case. And I would prefer to have hard sculpted hair as opposed to rooted hair or something. It just fits much better to be able to have that dynamic look. But you can get it looking left and right, up and down, kind of things like of that nature. The shoulders here move forward, they move back. There is a slight ratchet joint moving in and out. There is a rotation at the upper part of the bicep and at the elbow itself. So you do want to make sure that if you're moving things around, you don't get the the bicep in the wrong configuration. You don't want the bicep to be towards the front. So make sure that that is appropriate. You do have a nice elbow joint that does get you about 45 degrees. It's not really 90, obviously. The wrists do rotate. They hinge forward. They do hinge forward and back. You do have that diaphragm cut right up there, so you can rotate that. And then you also have a joint. I want to say you have a joint down at the lower section. Maybe you don't. Maybe I could take this off and take a look. But it doesn't feel really like there is, which, it is what it is. It's fine. The hips move forward and back, in and out. The nice cape section here doesn't really hinder anything, although I do get annoyed when it gets bunched like that. So I'm going to have to, again, futz with it to make it look as good as possible. You do have a rotation at the upper part of the thigh. You have the bend at the knee. You also do have a rotation at the knee. So you can bend it and then rotate that around just a little bit. I mean, well, no, yeah, you can go all the way around if you want to. The ankles here do move forward and back. These are really stiff, which is good, but worth noting that they are pretty darn stiff. And then you can see that there is a tilt on it and no rotation or anything of that nature. So all the articulation you could pretty much want for this guy is there. I'm just really blown away by how cool he looks. And again, he wasn't my favorite villain by any stretch of the imagination, but he does definitely look very cool and very imposing. Overall, again, another wonderful addition to their SilverHawks Ultimates line. Of the three that I've taken a look at so far, I have not been let down by any of them. Accessory-wise for Windhammer here is fantastic. Tons of different hands, 2 different head sculpts, and a couple different effects pieces, which really allows you to create a very cool dynamic look for him, and really capture the essence of the character and his abilities. The overall sculpt, paintwork, and design of this figure all match beautifully to what was created on that cartoon. There's no real complaints about the coloring on this, because he didn't really have too much going on. He didn't really have that chrome look or anything, so there's not much of a kind of compare and contrast, because this is how he looked. The only slight criticism I would have would be, I do really wish he did have double elbows, because you are fairly limited in the posing of his tuning fork and effects because of that reduced range of motion in his elbows. It doesn't hurt the figure, but it does limit how you can display him. One thing also worth noting is that I talked about how there's a very sturdy ratchet joint in his ankles. I very much appreciate that, because in terms of doing this, this does make him very top heavy. And having the larger feet, which the character design had, but having those very solid ratchet joints really does help to lock him in this position and not worry about him toppling over. So again, kudos to the folks over at Super 7. Even when you swap this out, because this is a little bit lighter, you take the more heavy ice effects, put that on there, like that, and you can see the weight pulling it down. That's something that obviously you can really see in it, but it doesn't make them topple over. It does kind of make the elbows or the shoulders kind of pull down, as you can see, but the figure's not falling over or anything. Maybe you're just going to have Windhammer blasting the ground to make it slippery, I don't know. Either way, this is a great addition to the display and a great addition to the line. And even though that the character, as I said, is not one of my personal favorites, the toy that they made turned out great. So all that being said, if Windhammer is a figure that you would like to add to your collection, he is available online at places like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. For both of those places, I'll put links right down there in the video description. And if you choose to use my link to go to Entertainment Earth, in addition to being able to get free shipping on orders over a certain amount, which all of these Silverhawk figures would definitely qualify for, if you wanted to add them all at the same time, you'll also receive an additional 10% off of any in-stock order that you place, helping you to save money and helping to show your support for my channel. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. And as always, please remember that the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching, and until next time, this has been Optibotimus saying adios, au revoir, and auf Wiedersehen.
Partly metal, partly real. Silver